Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CSF podcast. I'm done trying to make up funny names for it. This is just what it is. Today, we're going to try a little bit of a different approach to things. I've asked the other coaches, Mally and Adam, here today to come with their own topics and stories, if you will. And I thought that this would be interesting because all three of us right now are going into nationals. We're pretty deep into prep. I think this marks about, with what, 3 weeks out, less than 3 weeks out, something like that, depending on when we compete. And I know that all of us are pretty deep in the trenches at this point, and this is the best time I find to really introspect on my training and see where I can really pull out these, grand concepts that I think can really help, other lifters with their own training, right? Like these are lived experiences. And I feel that right now is going to be when we're having them because we're all in contention to, frankly, win our individual classes, all go to worlds. I'd say that, frankly, I think that this Nats maybe has the most stakes as a team than any of them had. I don't know about you guys. I'm feeling the stress. And because of that, training has definitely been a bit more meditative as of late. It means more, I find, than just regular training does. It really does feel like we're going into crunch time, and I'm learning more about myself and my own athletic journey, if you will, in these last couple of weeks than I would otherwise in a year of off season even. So I know that for me, the topic that I wanted to discuss today, or the story that I wanted to tell even, is this concept of narrative and the importance of both good and bad narratives. Specifically, there was that 320 poll that I posted on my Instagram it was 2 weeks ago, right? And this was a sort of shit. David's just joining.
Yo, brother, what's up, dog?
Hi, you guys already recording?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
we're
good.
in the middle of it. Yeah.
We just started though. We just started. You're here.
Sorry, my bad.
Good.
Didn't expect David to be here, but David's here. So, anyways, on the Monday that I was pulling into this 320, 300 felt terrible. In fact, all my warm-ups felt very, very bad. And for a long period of time now, a long stretch of my training has been this sort of negative narrative, right? It was always this narrative within myself, and of course, how I viewed my training as a bit dangerous, a bit risky. When things felt bad, it was sort of like, we're probably going to hurt ourselves, we're going to snap. And that was the sort of narrative process that I had in my head a lot. Just a very, negative and downwards mindset of just, we need to be extremely careful, we need to be, blah, blah, blah. But I looked at the calendar after my 300 and I went, look, what if I don't though? Like, what if I pull 320 and it moves good? What if I don't hurt myself? What if I try to redefine my narrative, so to speak, as a positive one? Because I know that when I am training good, I feel invincible. The narrative is that I can't be hurt, I can't be stopped. So I had to sort of rewrite it in my head, that sort of self-talk, wherein I was initially, after I pulled my 300, thinking 320 is going to blow my back up. Like, I'm just going to re-injure myself here. But there was a part of me that just went, what if I don't? Because the rest of training leading into that, like acutely, just the specific week beforehand, I had done an RDL, right? For the first time in like a year, I had accomplished an RDL. And I think that that pivotal moment actually allowed me to then go, things are different, right? This is a new variable in play that can sort of switch my narrative. Wherein, before I couldn't hinge into my hip. Now I can. So maybe that's enough to change it. I loaded 320 and it moved very, very well. And since then, right? Even though it only has been, a week and change since then, I have felt a very positive shift in my training, in my mindset, in my narrative. It is now just, I'm back, right? And there's been such a positive surge of momentum as a result of this that it feels imperative to really capitalize on this new narrative, to now, whenever things do feel a little bit heavy, to sort of forego it and just go, no, but now we're on the comeback and we are on the upswing. I always tell my athletes that, like, if you try to look for pain, you will find it, right? Even right now, I feel pretty all right. I'm sitting, I'm good. If I really hyper fixate on it and focus, there is still some nerve tension. My ankle feels a little weak. My hamstring is a little tight and all that. But if I ignore it, I don't really care, right? And I think that just has to deal with that duality of narratives, where I can either assume this, fragile mindset, or I can assume this mindset where, we are on the upswing. And this isn't to say that I think you need to be utterly reckless with your planning and force a positive narrative. Right? I tried that. I tried to tell myself it's all in your head, you're healthy. I did that for like a year. But I do think it's important that when you do start to have this positive upswing and you do have these sort of, events that are a sort of narrative shift in a way, to really hone in on that and fixate on that instead. Because in the same vein, where if you are going to look for pain, you're going to find it. If you look for positive upswings, you will find those. If you look for momentum, you can create that. So I don't know if you guys have had any sort of narrative swings within your training as of late. That's been my big thing, is just, it felt like for a very long time I was the downtrodden, the washed out, or washed up rather, blah blah blah. And now it really does feel like there might be a potential for just this grandiose comeback, and it's created just it has injected a surge of momentum in my training. And you guys have any momentum stories? Any narrative stories?
I can
Anything
probably.
you want to add on to that?
I mean, I don't really. Sometimes when I'm doing, like, for example, could talk about my deadlift yesterday, where I loaded a weight that I missed 3 weeks ago for a triple. Like, I did one rep and then basically missed the next 2 reps. But I loaded the same weight this week. And in the back of my head, there was definitely that, you just missed this. Why the fuck are you loading this again? Shouldn't you be going below this? But Tim had put it in to the program saying this is what he thinks my target should be for the day. And quickly that conversation in my head went, well, if Tim believes it, why don't I? And then I also remembered the time when I did that weight for 4 when I was a 74 back in Ottawa. And these quick conversations came into my head just before executing, and I was just like, yeah, I can fucking do this. And then I did it. So yeah, I think that's important, but I don't think a lot of people have the ability to do that. I think some people will get that negative conversation in their head, and then it'll be louder than the positive, and they don't have enough, maybe even experiences or ways to get them out of that, to get them to the moment of being like, no, I fucking got this. I've even told some of my clients, like, if you do have that doubt, like, you'll see if people are training around me or even in comps, they'll see me screaming, and it's not because I'm fucking weird. I'm actually actively trying to get those negative thoughts out of my brain. So if I have a negative thought in my brain and I go, it feels like it'll go away. So yeah, it's a joke that I'm schizophrenic and I'm a weirdo, but it's just a tool that I've used for a while now to kind of get me out of, or snap out of it, because it's easy for those voices in your head to just take over.
I think it's super interesting that you brought up that, like, you didn't believe in yourself, but Tim did. So you're like, all right, we'll go with Tim. Or I think it's super useful to lean into, like, your coach or, your even anyone else. I know that you've never watched it, maybe David has, if any of us have here. Gurren Lagann, the classic drill anime. Simon doesn't believe in himself, but he believes in Big Brother Kamina. So Kamina says, don't believe in you, believe in the me that believes in you. Just off-source that belief, or outsource it rather, right? So I have my own athletes, right? They're going into Nats. Some of them are, even in the same boat that I am, where they're weirdly enough going into this pretty injured and battered up, and then suddenly having this surge and upswing of momentum. And they don't believe in themselves, but I believe in them, and they believe in me. And so it's a roundabout fashion. So you can still create that narrative of belief if you can just loophole it. And I think that that's super powerful, right? It could be very valuable to just go, okay, I don't think that I can do it, but I highly trust this person that says I can do it, so maybe I can do it, right? Do it for the fans.
David, you got
Adam, you
anything
got
with this
anything?
with this topic?
Or David, yeah, either of you?
Or David?
I do, but I'll let David go. David, do you have any thoughts?
Still trying to figure out what we're talking about. Sorry.
Okay, let me go first then. It's funny. I literally just posted a YouTube video, and it was called "The Prediction Bug." And pretty much, what the prediction bug is about is, it's just like general human psychology that we're trying to predict outcomes, right? Like that's what humans do. And typically with these predictions, they're favorable, right? Like when we think about ourselves in the future, we try and think of favorable things to come, right? Because that gives us a sense of comfort, gives us a path to follow. And I think it is human nature to be generally optimistic. But there comes a point where when those predictions don't line up with reality for an extended period of time, like let's say Nick's situation, where maybe what he's hoping for early on in your injury, like, I'm not feeling good right now, but next workout's going to get better and it's going to get better. And then it doesn't. That's where things get really tricky, right? Because we experience a little bit of, in the video, I called it a little bit of an ego death, right? Like when our future predictions don't line up with reality at all, then it's just like, dude, I'm not capable of anything. Now, Nick, I'm not saying this is what you felt. I'm not saying that you experienced ego death or you gave up at all, but getting out of that depth with your ego is really hard to overcome again, right? Because when we think about these outcomes or what's about to come, typically they're no longer optimistic. So when you can flip that switch in those future predictions start to become optimistic again, and then you can actually follow through on those future predictions, that's when momentum starts, right? So that could be a situation where it's like, maybe Nick's future predictions were a little bit more negative. Like if I go up, I'm going to break. If I go up, I'm going to break, because that's what he's been rooted to do. This is just the cycle. This is pattern recognition, right? Like typically when he would go up, something would happen. But like Nick said, you can break that narrative. We can swing back to this favorable, positive, optimistic outcome search when we think about our future capabilities. And when those start to line up again, I think people are unstoppable, right? Like when those future predictions are positive and that starts to become a reality for you, things can switch on a dime. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I've been going a little bit schizo.
It makes, it's because we also want to be very wary of like pessimistic cycles where, ultimately there is that sort of like self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Where it's, if I go into this and I am worried I'm going to snap, I do think that there's actually even like biomechanical and physiological processes in that where you're probably going to set yourself up to a point where you're more likely to snap, right? I think as soon as you go into a movement and you're less confident and you start to guard and create tension in areas that you maybe don't want tension, blah, 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 then you actually do set yourself up to fulfill this prophecy of, if I do this, I'm going to hurt myself, right? It's that whole idea of like manifestation is sort of a thing because you will either consciously or subconsciously create parameters in which it is more likely to occur, right? We don't ever really want to be wrong. Even when we're pessimistic about things, we don't want to be wrong. right? So we will end up setting ourselves up to be correct, even if it's against our best interests. So I do think it is just pivotal to try to groom your narratives in your interests, because you're going to try to fulfill them anyways. I think that wraps up my topic, honestly. I'm very excited to train now. I honestly, there's a part of me that wants to tell you guys to wrap up your topic super fast so I can go train. I'm feeling fired up. I want to
I
go
saw,
rip some
I saw
weight.
this along with this topic. I saw this interesting thing about how you should just be training so that you put yourself in a position to be in the conversation. So when I think about Nick or Adam over the last couple of years that I've watched you guys like come through what's been happening, I see it as if like, yeah, you guys have been, because you've been voicing to me like I'll be back. Like Adam has been voicing like he's like, I'm gonna be back at the top. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be in that conversation again. And then Nick, he doesn't have to say it, but I can see it from his face when he's training that he looks like he's like, I'm gonna be back. But what I'm trying to get at is that if you guys didn't like kind of, now we see this term saying like swim through the bad times, like if you guys didn't swim through all that but keep that like dangling carrot in your brain, you would have probably not ever been in this position now of being like, I'm positioned to be in the conversation again. Because I truly believe if you guys just kind of just said, oh, I'm just like training, if you were just a person who just went, I'm just training, I'm just trying to just like go finish my sessions, whatever, and not have that like part of your brain going, you're trying to go somewhere, you're going to be back where you're going to get where you were, you guys probably would have never been back here.
Can't have a comeback if you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
You got to get that predictive software recalibrated back towards optimism.
David, you got that predictive software in your brain right now when you're down in the trenches?
Have you predicted what we're talking about?
Sort of. Can someone just summarize the topic real quick for me?
Do you have like a part of your brain that goes, because right now you're probably not training a lot because your priorities are shifted, but do you kind of have like that in your brain going, oh, when I come back, I'm going to push and I'm going to be able to push? Like, do you have that at all in your brain? Do you have like a slight even inkling throughout your week that kind of comes to you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like right now, my priorities have shifted a little bit. So it is like, it just doesn't feel good to to have to shift my priorities in a different way for the year. But like it's always in the back of my head, like I want to get back to it. Like when I come back, I'm gonna try to be even better than I was before. It's like I feel like as competitors, it's always gonna be in the back of our heads, but it's in mine. So when I'm not like fully powerlifting right now, it is definitely something that I'm striving towards, and I'm keeping it as a goal at the moment.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I'll do my topic. I think I got two, but I'll do the first one.
If we were gonna come with two, I would have came with three.
Fucking Nick just wants to train, guys. So yeah, I'll do one, and we'll see if we have time for the other. But mine is kind of, I think a lot of people are traveling for competition right now. There might be their first time going to nationals, first time getting out of their province to go and compete. You guys are all pretty well traveled for human beings. So I wanted to see if you guys had any tips or something you guys do to kind of accustom when you guys get there. What do you do when you get there? Your process before a competition? Do you change anything a week out? Stuff that's kind of things you guys do in your routine when you know you're going to a different place.
Adam, you know I have my super autistic process. Do you want to go through what you got?
I'll say one thing. I think the biggest thing that's been helpful for me is figuring out what your social battery is like before competing. So I know for me, I have a hard time being in a meet environment for a sustained period of time. Like even as a viewer of the sport, even if I'm not competing, I think watching my friends compete gets me excited, raises my heart rate. I do find it fatiguing from some standpoint, just like being in that meet environment constantly. So I think something that's important for maybe it's your first time at nationals and you want to do well at the competition. It's like, be really honest with yourself about how long you can spend in that environment and not cook yourself, right? So like for me, I actually try not to go to the venue before I compete, like as much as possible. I just know that it gets me too excited. It burns me out a little bit if I'm just hanging out at the venue too long before I compete. Whereas other people are the complete opposite. The more time they spend at the venue, the more comfortable they get in the environment, the calmer they feel. And that's exactly what they need to do. So, you know, depending on if you're introverted or extroverted, try and figure out what you need to do, how you need to navigate that situation, because it can make a really big impact on how you perform in a competition. I know it does for me. Like I've spent way too much time in the meet environment before I've competed sometimes, and come comp day, it's just like I'm pushing and fighting for everything, but it's just not the same excitement spark. You know, the dopamine's already hit the system from watching so many people compete. I need to reserve that for myself. I'm not sure if you guys feel the same way with that.
No, that's actually a really good point, because I remember in Malta actually, when we went together, even in the training room, I was going around talking to people, having a good time. You were like in the corner, headphones on, like you were at a home gym. Like you did not talk to a soul until after the meet. Whereas I'm the complete opposite, where I was trying to talk to everybody. I wanted to immerse myself in it. And hell, the night before we competed, I was watching the 74s battle it out front row. Because to me, it hypes me up. I'm like, I can't wait to be on that stage. I want to do shit that they're doing. I want to be, I want this. This is what I want. I want to be, I want people to watch me do shit. And I love that. But on the same sort of vein, and, as a coaching podcast, I probably shouldn't even say this. I can't handle people before I compete. I don't know how people do that. I don't know how people handle people while they compete. To me, handling feels like competing, like in terms of that sort of stress and battery, where like after a competition, I'm beat. I just want to lay down, drink some beers, have some fun. I have the same thing when I handle. I'm beat after. I cannot handle and then compete. I'll handle after I compete, which is what I am going to be doing at nationals, but anyone beforehand, I just can't do it. And to be aware of that and to have that sort of introspection on these aspects, I think is super important. And unfortunately, it does take some experience. You kind of got to break some eggs before you find out if you can handle, your social battery into a meet and all that, like Adam said. But it is something to be like acutely aware of. And I do think that anytime you do travel to a big meet, enter it with that sort of learning mindset of like, you're bound to make some mistakes. Be okay with that and just learn for next time and assume there will be a next time. Right. I think that's super important. Because yeah, for me, like Mally, like I was telling Adam, right, that like I have my big autistic process. I think a big thing that not enough people do is just scout beforehand, right? There's a lot of like bare bones logistics that you should figure out. Food is like the biggest thing. I don't know how people just arrive somewhere and then start stressing about food. You can stress about your food weeks in advance. There is not a single location that we've ever went to where I have not gone on Google Maps and scouted every restaurant in a walkable distance, every grocery store, every convenience store. I did that shit in Salivri, Turkey. All right. I was like, yeah, there's a bakery 5 minutes down the road. Here's their approximate menu based off of their Facebook page, which I translated from Turkish. This is just what you should do, frankly. I don't know how anyone travels to a meet, even within nation, and then just goes, okay, now I need to figure out my food. You're already going to be stressed with flying, with traveling, with everything involved. The more, in my opinion, because I'm a very high stress individual when it comes to these little tiny minutia, figure all of that out well in advance. I know what I'm going to be eating the day I'm traveling in the airports because I've scouted the restaurants in my terminals. I've looked at their menus. I know what I'm doing. And therefore, when I go through it, it's a system. We just do it. It's fast and easy. Because you're already entering this super, super stressful situation where I'm going to go compete. There's a lot on the line. I need to make weight. Eliminate as many variables as you can well beforehand. Or if you're one of those people that I can't trust restaurant food, get an Airbnb. I know I've talked with like Sean Noriega about this because I'm personally fine eating restaurant food. I'll do it, right? And I know that he's not. And I was like, what do you do? He's like, I will get an Airbnb. I don't care if it's 30 minutes from the venue. If you need to do that, do that. But don't get a hotel and then go, how am I going to cook my food now? You already lost. You've already fucked up. So that is the first thing I do whenever I'm traveling for a meet. Look at the area, what restaurants are available, where can I get food and everything. The second thing is jet lag. So reset my circadian rhythm as fast as I can according to when I'm competing, right? So with Malta, we had that big afternoon session. I was trying to wake up late, but as soon as I did, go look at a bright light source. Did that in Turkey. Because everyone knows I have a terrible schedule. What is it? 7:30 p.m. I woke up 2 hours ago. This won't be an issue at St. John's because I'll just reset my circadian rhythm. It won't be.
Not for you, but some people, because if you're competing from like Vancouver, now you're 5 hours ahead and you're doing a morning competition, you're actually competing in the middle of the fucking night.
Yeah, but do what Nick said. Get some sun gazing in. Get some sun gazing in.
When I was in Turkey, the American team took a photo of me because I didn't realize that they could see me from where they were sitting, of me naked, staring at the sun over the coast of the Mediterranean, being like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, I'm resetting my rhythm. Because I'm competing early next morning. I gotta figure this out. And I reset my rhythm like that. So get jet lag out immediately. Scout all of your variables out weeks in advance. Try to make the situation of traveling and eating like an athlete, make that as seamless as possible as early as you can. I have no idea why people stress about this shit the day of. It boggles my brain. It makes me angry. Because they'll ask you. They ask you. That's what makes me angry. Because they're like, where can I get food? I'm like, how do you not know this? You should know this. For the record, in St. John's, you can go to there's a convenience store down the road towards downtown. There's a couple of them. Or you can go up the hill. I think it's like northeast. There's a little nice gourmet convenience store. Or you can travel directly north for about, it's like a 7 to 10 minute walk. There's a big superstore. Okay? Those are your food options in St. John's.
The one in downtown last time ran out of bananas. And they were like, everybody's buying bananas. I'm like, yeah, it's a powerlifting competition.
I think this is actually a really important, it's a great question, Mally. And the reason being is like we hear it all the time. It's like the strongest man doesn't always win, right? Like sometimes the strongest man does lose. It's about who is going to be the best prepared man. That's who's going to win the competition, who's going to be the strongest on the day because they're the best prepared on the day. And even though these things seem small, they can add up to a monstrous increase in your performance, right? Like someone who handles everything they need to handle. They're on top of their food. There's no stress related to food, their stay, or their social battery, right? If that's all managed really well, even if they're not the strongest lifter, in general, they're going to outperform the stronger lifter who is stressed from the second they arrived right up until the competition, right? So yeah, it is a great question.
The social battery one is interesting because I look at I have some clients who are first-time nationals goers, and they're all so excited to watch me and watch Adam and Nick because they're competing later in the week, but they're there all week. And I'm having meetings with them and I'm telling them, I'm like, you don't need to watch me in person. I don't expect it. I don't need it. I just need you to worry about yourself and figure that out. But I think a lot of newcomers, because there's their first big competition, they're going to be so excited. They're like, I want to watch everything. I want to be at the competition from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., watch every single session, scream for everybody. And I'm like, did you get a meal in? Like, you know, like don't fuck yourself over like that. And it's interesting because I just watched Russ's video about what happened at Sheffield about, and we all know he kind of like he just wasn't himself. He looked like he just, you know, he wasn't smiling at the camera. Now that's weird because Russ is Russ and he's not smiling. What the fuck is going on? So everybody watching knew something was off. But he talked about it. He's just like, he even put it on his story a couple days out. If you guys noticed, he's like, anybody know any food people who can make me some food? Like shit like that. Like this guy's been to Sheffield before. Right? Yeah. He's been to Sheffield.
Yeah.
He knows the area. So he hasn't figured these small things out. Right. Like, so that point that Nick makes is so important. Like I take all my food with me. And the reason I do that is because Tim, he went to a competition a couple of years ago for Worlds. He got there and they didn't have fucking Gatorade. So I'm like, well, fuck. I got to make sure I take everything with me. So I just put it in Ziploc bags of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I just take that bag and I eat it. Take that bag and I eat it. Every single day is laid out. I take it from here. I don't even grocery shop when I get there because I have everything with me. I did this for Worlds. I do it every single competition. And that's just the way, because I don't trust when I get there what I need to buy. Obviously, Nick is different. Nick eats fucking shawarmas the day before. But I know Adam will take his oatmeal and his Tupperware. Guy he didn't have one extra Tupperware. Made me go find him Tupperware in Malta one day. But the point being that, like, if you got to know what you need, and if you don't trust shit, like obviously I'm going to Canada. I know there's a superstore. I know there's going to be everything I need. But if I was going to a country where I didn't, I would take every single thing. And it's to a point where what Nick said about Sean Noriega having an Airbnb, I did an Airbnb at Worlds. I'm doing an Airbnb this time, and I made sure I found an Airbnb with a hot tub. And I've already talked to my handler who's living in a hotel because I need to know where the sauna's at. And if I need the sauna, I'm using his sauna. So it's all laid out. It's all planned out. But some people just don't do it. And who gives a fuck? If I'm competing against them, I'm not posting about this. My competitors aren't going to listen to me. So fuck them.
Just a brief commercial break here. I just want to give a special shout out to Kai Winston as we're on this podcast. Just bought a bag of Clean Grip. All the boys, thank you. Thank you, Kai Winston from the United States.
Appreciate
Kai.
you.
Thanks,
Hello,
Kai.
Thanks, Kai.
Thanks, Kai. Kai, what a guy. I didn't say that.
Yeah, no, that was a really good question. Anything else, David? Any thoughts? Anything you do to make sure that you can show up to the platform, ready to go?
I mean, I think you guys really just kind of hit the head on the nail already. Hit the nail on the head.
I mean, David gets tattoos before he competes, so
Okay.
I was gonna say, everyone has like their little ritual.
Yeah,
David
like,
gets tattoos like a
David is
day out
so
from the
chill.
competition.
David is so chill before competing, and me and Adam are not. Like me and
Yeah.
Adam need to stay in the house. We watch a movie and we're just chilling. Like both of us are just chilling, watching a movie, like hanging out. Like that's our thing. But David can do whatever. David will be out shopping, fucking having a great time, and he'll still ball out the next day.
All right. So
Um,
I think I'll have to like talk for my own like experience. I'm always traveling for competitions, so no matter if it's a local or anything, like I'm always just traveling. So I don't really get out that much. So being able to be out and then having options to go like eat or shop, I take advantage of that, or even like get tattoos. So I mean, don't take like my advice, I guess, in this sense, because I just do whatever and it doesn't really fatigue me, and I don't know why, because I think I'm just like happy to be there. But I think the one thing you guys really said well was basically just be prepared, like have the right preparations, and have like almost like a itinerary of like what you need and what needs to be done for you to kind of feel comfortable. So like if I'm traveling for a competition, which I always am, my main goal when I get to that city or town is like to get comfortable first. And then from there, once I wind down, kind of like Nick, finding his circadian rhythm, is then I can see if I have the energy to go out and do other things. But even I'm a little different than Adam, because Adam says he doesn't like to stay at a meet long. For me, I don't mind it, because even if I'm at a meet and I'm watching these people, I'm not really talking to anyone and no one really wants to talk to me. So I'm not really expending any energy in that sense. I'm just kind of vibing out and viewing it, and no one really bats an eye my way, which is quite nice. And also, because I'm like sometimes in the heavier weight class, my competition won't, like the comp day won't be until like the last 2 days of the competition, the last day of the competition. So being able to kind of get out of the house and kind of do things at my own pace, whether that be like shopping or like watching the competition, it kind of makes the days go by quicker, in a sense where I'm not like stuck in my B&B or hotel room, just sitting there getting like anxious. And also, I don't really like to sit down for too long. So like if I'm in there watching a movie, I can't like watch a movie for like 2 days straight, right? So for me, like finding something to do, keep myself busy in moderation, I think is probably the best bet.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because some people are definitely more extroverted, like David, who would want to do stuff like that. A good point that I just thought about would be, I still get asked this question like quite often. If you're traveling with liquids like liquid chalk, glycerol, whatever you need, if you have a container that says more than 100 milliliters, even if there's less chalk in there, they can TSA agents can still take it from you. So put it in containers that are less, that say 100 milliliters or less, or buy a travel container from Dollarama and put your shit in there. Because if it's a specific size, then they can't take it from you. But if it says even 101, they're allowed to throw it out. So don't scream at them and get mad that this happened. This is your fault. Because this law has been there for fucking decades. So
Yeah,
I still don't understand how people are still weirded out about this, because I'm like, this law has existed, bro.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
I can't
like-
blame someone else for my own mistakes?
Like, I want to make fun of you, Melly, for just giving a basic travel advisory, but it really is like this. Like, people just don't be doing these things, and it fucks up their entire comp. It's
Or
like
even
some people are so
putting
stressed.
putting your comp gear, checking it in.
Yeah,
Why the fuck
exactly.
are you checking your comp gear?
You should. It should go without saying. You should always carry on your comp gear, but people don't do it. But
Take everything you need for comp day in a backpack. That backpack's on you. If your food's in there, that backpack. Check everything else. You can. Who gives a fuck if you lose your check bag then? But you have everything.
I do. I got
for
some of
game day.
these clothes in there.
What the
But
fuck?
I do think that the big thing here is just that, yeah, people stress so much that they forget things. And I think that, like what David said and what you and Adam have said, where it's just like, you need to do whatever you need to personally do to bring yourself to that sort of neutral baseline where you're not stressed out, right? You'll get amped up when it's comp day. I don't know a single person that has had an issue elevating themselves and getting a little nervous during warm-ups, right? You don't need to do that right now. So it really comes down to, look, is going outside going to stress you out, or is staying inside going to stress you out? Just do whatever is not going to stress you out. Find your ritual. I know that, like, Blake Barrett always watches that one fucking movie about the drumming that I'm forgetting.
Whiplash.
It's not my time. Yeah, Whiplash. I think he watches that before every single meet, and it just sets him in, right? I know for me, even though what I just talked about with Adam, where it's like, I'll be at the meet and I'll go walk around. And like at Malta, like Mally said, I remember going to your guys' Airbnb. You guys were like indoors, locked in. I had just walked off the street after like a couple hours of exploring Malta, shawarma in hand, like, we're competing tomorrow, right? But every single meet that I have done for like the last 5 years, the night before the meet, I will completely isolate myself and I will just walk around at night. And that grounds me and it brings me back down to like that neutral line. And I think that this is super important, not just for your mental. Look, stress induces inflammation. If we're trying to make weight, we probably don't want to have a bunch of stress. We want to cut, right? So it's very important to just stay in midline. But it is very important to find that ritual that just grounds you and settles you. And for me, that is just walking at night alone. And lastly, I don't think we need too many more points, but because I usually get to compete, I have the luxury of competing in the primetime sessions, the privilege even. They're always late at night, so I can always stay up the night before and do my night walks. And I think it's super, super important, though, that you find out what time you're competing and adjust your schedule around that. I know we alluded to this earlier, but when Adam was talking about, like, there are some people that are very, very strong and then don't show up because of little things like this. I beat Juren's Kingamu, right? One of the greatest 83s of all time. I beat Juren's, and I'm 90% sure it is because he woke up early that morning and just stayed in bed for like 8 hours before weighing in. I woke up an hour before weigh-ins. So while he was sitting there just not eating and just rotting, he probably felt like shit after. I woke up and I was like, hey, good morning, man. He's like, it's 4 p.m. Like, yeah, I woke up just now. And I'm fresh. And I don't have to sit there and starve myself for an entire day and just lay in my bed and rot. That would kill me, right? So I think it's super important to find out when you're competing and adjust recording to that, and not just, I always wake up at 8 a.m. I got to wake up at 8 a.m. I compete at 5 p.m. Guess I'm not going to eat an entire fucking day and lay in bed and watch Whiplash until my neck hurts. Like, don't be silly. Figure things out. I think that's the big answer to Melly's question. It's just figure your shit out now, not when you need to figure them out.
Yeah.
All right, Mallory, are you ready to fly now? I know you're really scared to fly to Newfoundland because you've never been on a plane before.
Yeah.
Are
I'm
you
ready.
scared?
Yeah.
Planes are scary, man. They can crash and you can't do anything about it.
I'm gonna do the thing that bodybuilders do: take a shot of tequila at the back, and I'm gonna be fucking swinging.
Is that what they do?
Yeah, they take a shot of fucking out liquor or some shit. I don't know what it does, but they do some shit.
It dries you out.
Dries
a
them
little bit
out.
more,
Yeah, it
'cause-
dries them out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do that on the plane, and I haven't drank for like 2 years, so I'm gonna be fucking wasted.
Yeah, I watched
I
that.
knew a power lifter that used to have the AP bench record, and he would cut using just Everclear. He would just drink Everclear until he made weight.
Crazy.
Don't give anyone any ideas.
All right, next question. Who's got the next one? Adam, David.
David, you want to rip? You have anything?
I did not come prepared with the question. I'm sorry. That'd be
Yeah,
totally
mine
honest.
is. This is a completely different topic. I don't know how we're going to handle it, so maybe the podcast just cuts. But observation, we've talked about this before. The correlation between really good powerlifters and having a very strong spiritual faith. What do you think? It's not a coincidence, right? Like if we look at Sheffield, right? Like spiritually, these people are very, very open about their faith. They have very, very strong faith. And I'm curious your thoughts on maybe why this is.
Right, I've thought about this. I've thought about this for like years.
I think this is an observation like everyone has though, right? Like we watch Sheffield and, like, dude, over half the roster, they're very open about it. Very, very strong faith. A lot of thanks to God. You guys have noticed this, I'm sure, right?
Now, I need to speak on this very bluntly. I am atheist, agnostic. I don't believe in things, right? And I've always wanted to talk to and interview, again, my friend Sean Noriega about this, because I think it's very, very clear there was a marked increase in his performance when he converted to Catholicism. And I think he is like the prime case study of my hypothesis, which is just, if you're a very neurotic athlete or an athlete that tends towards neuroticism, but now you develop a belief system that is perhaps a bit more deterministic, you're more able to just let go of things, right? As opposed to, I need to do everything in my power. Now, look, if I talk to Sean about this, he'll probably go, not entirely. I believe that, God gives me the tools I need to do to blah, blah, blah. But if we still believe in this sort of, God's plan, higher divination, I will be where I need to be because God will put me there, you can then sort of relinquish some control. And I think that that can be very, very powerful. That's why most athletes have coaches, right? They don't want to think about the process so much because that is a mental and emotional stressor that they could otherwise use and put into training or just relinquish and therefore relax. So when you have this sort of idea and concept where God will give me the strength, God will put me in the position that he wants me to be in, whatever happens is part of grander machinations beyond myself, you can relax regarding the outcome, right? There isn't as much stress about it. Whereas, as an agnostic, as an atheist or whatever, when I go into a meet, it really feels like, look, win or lose, this is on me. There's a lot of stress because it's like, this is perhaps a declaration of my character. If I lose, I am a lesser person because I put value on that as opposed to being, I am a member of God's flock. He will love me regardless. This is his plan. That's seems to me, at least from the outside looking in, that's a lot easier of a pill to swallow. I can now accept the outcomes and perhaps just focus on execution. Whereas for myself, I'm stressed as fuck about what losing or winning nationals could mean for me as an individual on this earth. So I think that's the biggest thing, is this sort of ability to off-source and relinquish control and put that into the greater other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a great answer, Nick. Mal, any thoughts? You don't have to answer this. I know it's odd subject, but
No,
any thoughts?
Not odd. It's something I've thought about this quite a bit, and I've joked about it. I'm like, should I find God to get stronger?
I think that defeats the purpose. I don't think you can use this as a power boost.
I'll say this. I'll talk about like a story about myself. I grew up in a pretty religious household. Grew up around religion, a lot of faith in the house, and it kind of drove my mom to insanity to a point because of stressors, and like she really like took God to a point of like crazy spot, right? And kind of drove her to insanity, and to the point where the medical world actually said that was the reasoning for why she is the way she is today. So for me, I became very hateful towards God and religion over the last couple of years, and also because of like what's going on in the world, just in the name of religion, like what happens. So that's my kind of little snip on that stuff. But I will say that I am not fully atheist. I am not fully not a person who believes that there's nothing higher than us. And I do find myself during training, leading up to sessions, even driving to sessions, I am talking to something out loud. I'm not specifically talking to God. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I am having a conversation with someone saying, like, hey, am I good enough? Can I do this? Like, yeah, if you believe I can do this, give me the power to do it. And like all this like stuff, but I don't have the belief because of what has happened to my family. But I do think there's a lot of like UFC fighters and stuff like that who talk about manifestation and stuff about like believing in something you believe you can do, but like manifest it by like spirituality and like talking to something of a higher being. I feel like I do that. And I do feel like I've found something in the last couple of, maybe in the last year and a half of being probably the 66 competitor. I have found that little bit of faith. Not like I used to cringe at the fact that like people are talking to God, but I've almost like been able to like find that comfort. And maybe it's the way what Nick is saying, maybe it's just helped me kind of like put it onto something else and just believe that, hey, there is something that's believing in me, and that's kind of helping me get through stuff. But will I say that because I'm praying and because I'm talking to God, I'm able to do all these things that I'm doing? No, because I still have that undying hate towards religion and God in some way. So I don't really, I don't know if that answers your question, but I see the perspective of why people are going through what they're going through, because I do practice it. But to the whole point of religion and stuff, I'm just still kind of wary of all that in my own personal life experience. Talk to me in 10 years, it might change. I don't know.
I was gonna say Mally's gonna be Catholic in like 4 years, dude.
Mally's going through some spiritual confusion. That's okay. That's a part
I
of
hate
everyone's
God.
life.
I talk to him every day. All right, man.
That was an unexpected answer, Mally. But David, any thoughts? You don't have to.
Honestly, I don't really think I can answer much on this topic because I don't know much about God in that religion, because I grew up mainly Buddhist. So yeah, I think this is a topic that's like out of my scope.
Yeah, no, totally fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess the conclusion I came to is like God has a path for these individuals, right? Like God has a path for you, and there's almost like this deep-rooted acceptance in suffering, right? Like that's very intertwined with faith. It's like suffering is just part of that, right? Like we often hear, like, you know, God gives its toughest battles to, you know, his toughest soldiers, and things like that. So I do think Nick was completely right of like, it's comforting to know that through the good and bad that you are loved and there is a path for you. And I think it can be an exceptional motivator in a sport where there's a ton of ups and downs, and your story will play out in due time when it's right for you, right? Like it's God's plan. So anyways, I just thought it was an interesting topic because like we watched Sheffield, and it's like, I feel like maybe even over half of those competitors are very, very spiritual. So I just thought it was an interesting question.
I honestly think it is the most interesting question. Now, obviously, my background is very like philosophical. I also took like a ton of religious studies classes in university. I grew up Catholic. I took like 12 years of Catholic school, and it really is one of those ones where it's like, look, it's out of our fucking skill. This is going to be one of those things that I think will be. I was about to be so small-minded as to say this is one of the most interesting questions in our sport. This is one of the most interesting questions in life, in like the history of man, the power of religion, the motivation of there being a higher being, of giving yourself to church, to God, to, you know, or even in David's case, something small like Buddhism, of relinquishing all materialness. And, you know, I'm not super familiar with Buddhism, but it is almost the opposite, where it is not so much the higher power, but that inner power in and of yourself, where everything else isn't as important. And all of that sort of relinquishingness, if you will, does, I think, assert itself to some level of almost greater agency in an almost oxymoronical way over whatever you may be aspiring towards, because it almost says you will get whatever you end up deserving, and it isn't so much up to you and your actions, and you just have to play your part, right? I think there is something beautiful to that, and something, you know, like David said, out of our scope. But I do think that anyone interested in this, there's some stuff you can read. You can really dive into this topic. It's fucking religion, man. I mean, it's beautiful. I don't agree with Mally at all. Despite we're like polar opposites. He talks to God all the time and hates him. I love God. I don't believe in him.
Nick and Mally's dynamic is very, very interesting. Like both of you, super interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was this episode of the CSF podcast. Let us know if you enjoyed this new sort of format where each of us have our own little mini topic that we can delve into. Honestly, there's probably only going to be one more podcast between now and Nationals. We might also just do a little Nationals recap. of sorts, at least with our own training, maybe our own athlete. I think that'd be a nice little podcast. So, one more little mini topic podcast episode, and then we'll see you guys in St. John's. CSF out. Clean Strength Fitness out.